Jason, we got Dustin on the line. What do you want to ask him?
When you're just starting and you don't have this track record of successfully syndicating multiple deals, how do you effectively leverage a partner's capital?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways that kind of come to mind as far as, so you could ask for that proof of funds from your guy. You could just say, hey, I have a capital partner, and they're naturally going to ask, well, does the partner need to see the property before, moving forward or anything like that? Another thing that you could think about doing is, and this is what I did. So I partnered up with someone that was had a little more experience than I did. Basically, I was kind of borrowing his resume a little bit.
Welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. I'm your host, Brian Briscoe with Four Oaks Capital. Very excited. It's another great show. We got an Ask the Expert episode coming up right now. We've got experienced investor Dustin Miles and an aspiring investor, Jason Velie. So Dustin, you're first up. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, first of all, welcome to the show, and then tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, appreciate you having me on. It's great meeting you earlier this summer down in
Absolutely.
Texas.
Yeah.
So I'm in Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, and went to won't belabor too long, but my background is in engineering. Went to UT Austin for engineering and was an engineer at a defense contractor for a long time, and I've had an interest in real estate. Started on the single family side, like a lot of people. Started that 12, 13 years ago, and then started investing passively in multifamily about 10 years ago. And then likewise saw, and so kind of dove in and started putting deals together. And so put my first deal together in 2014, so 109 doors, and bought it for about a little over $4 million, and put together about 1.7 in equity. So I've done 11 of those. I've sold 6, and number 7 is on the market to sell right now. So
nice. I think you had the foresight that I wish I had. It sounds like you got into single family. You said 12, 13 years ago. Was that right after the crash or pre-crash?
Yeah, it was right in crash. It was crashing.
Okay. It was crashing. Okay.
Yeah.
I bought my first single family rental in 2007 pre-crash, and my second one in 2008 while the market was sliding down, not knowing where it would bottom out. I just figured, might as well. But so going from single family to multifamily, what was that transition like for you?
I mean, there were, there's some skill sets that kind of transfer over. I mean, there's the skill set of really, I think of just having to hustle and project management. And, so I think those are kind of the biggest things that transfer over. But, it was a good process. I don't think it was, obviously doing your first deal and all that. It was nerve wracking, and, I was not only putting up a lot of my own money, but a lot of other people's money was on the line as well. And so, that was at a time. So this was 2014. So a lot of people, at least within my circles, people kept on thinking that, we're waiting for everything to slip back into a recession. That was the mindset at the time. And so, it was nerve wracking and all that. And I was pretty nervous signing on, multi-million-dollar loan documents, but, at the end of the day, I had a coach, so that helped. I also, partnered up with someone who had a little more experience than I did, so that helped. So I'm a big believer in coaches, and in this is a team sport, and I grew up playing soccer, so felt like just another sport to me.
And makes it sound easy. Now, just the price, you said $4 million for 108 units. I mean, where was this property?
It's in Haltom City. It's real close to Fort Worth in the DFW area.
All right. So you're roughly $20,000, if my math's right. No, $40,000 a unit. Yeah, roughly 40,000 a unit. Now, just out of curiosity, what do you think that property is worth right now?
Well, I sold it to a friend of mine who
Mhm.
was also a passive investor in the deal. I actually asked her about that the other day. Let me see what it is per door. It's probably about 110, 115 a door right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's always fun to look at like historical prices. You know, a lot of people will ask the question, like right now, you say in 2014, everyone was talking about slipping back into a recession. You know, right now I hear a lot of people talking about, you know, since the real estate market's gone up for so long, people are talking about, is there a crash? Is there a bubble? Is it coming back down? But you know, one thing I always see is, you know, real estate prices just keep on going up, you know, so 40,000 a door to, you know, a six figure in, you know, 7 years. That's a pretty good appreciation rate. So I wish I had a crystal ball, to be honest with you, but
I wish I would have bought everything under the sun. So
I know.
yeah.
I think we'll look back to 2021 and think the same thing. You know, right now, another big question that people always say is it looks like everyone's overpaying. The prices are crazy out of whack. Honestly, I think 5 years from now, everybody's going to be saying the same thing. I wish I would have bought, you know, a lot more in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's been saying the same thing, you know, over
Yeah.
the past 10 years. And I think you're right. And I wish we would have bought, more during COVID. There was definitely
Mhm.
a little bit of a discount there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's a little more opportunity. A lot of people went to the sidelines, you know, and so, you know, the few people that were able to jump in on it, we closed on 5 in 2020.
oh,
And
wow, for you guys.
yeah, and it was a great year for us. 2021, we've only closed on one. So, you know, little different, but yeah, I just wish those 5 were larger. You know, we had a couple of small properties, couple large properties, but anyway, it was definitely a good year for us. But I agree. You know, I still wish we would have closed on more. Yeah. That said, so what's different now? You know, so you started with 2014. You said you had a coach. You linked up with somebody with more experience on the deal. You know, how have you progressed from there?
Yeah. So from there, so that was, you know, the first two deals were, you know, had a coach and partnered up with someone. And then actually after that first deal, I started partnering up with other people because
Hmm.
at the time, no one, you know, there just weren't that many people in multifamily.
Yeah.
And so I started partnering up with some people. And so, you know, that's how I was able to, you know, grow. And because at the time I worked full time as an
Hmm.
engineer. And so I was, you know, doing this on the side and all that. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of progressed in that manner. I'm, you know, no longer, I was in lifestyles and then was in Brad Summock's program
Hmm.
and not in either anymore, but, you know, still have a lot of friends over there and definitely grew a lot over there for sure. So, but, you know, in terms of what things look like, you know, today, so we've kind of shifted, you know, from that BC, we're, you know, more looking at A assets and
Hmm.
there's a few, you know, reasons, you know, behind that, but, you know, so that's kind of what we're looking at. And then, you know, the deal size initially was, you know, probably in that for a lot of years was probably in that 5 to 10 range. And then
Hmm.
now we're kind of in that 20 to about 55 million range.
Hmm. Nice, nice. What do you find to be the biggest difference between, you know, like the $10 million range and the 20 to $50 million range?
There, I mean, you know, it's a lot of it's the same work. And
Hmm.
so it's like, well, if it's the same work, you might as well I just think of it in terms of a pie.
Hmm.
You know, it's all the same work. You know, do you want a smaller pie or do you want a bigger pie? And
Hmm.
so, so that was, you know, kind of part of the shift. And then the other part of the shift is, you know, with cap rates being as compressed as they are, I think a newer product might, at least where we're at and all
Hmm.
that, is kind of a safer bet. Just, you know, when you're looking at exit caps and all that, so if you go back and you look at a CBRE cap rate survey, and we've looked at them for the past 10
Hmm.
years, and so if you look at, your A exit cap, it just doesn't move as much. B moves more, and then C
Yep.
moves even more. And so just from a risk perspective, we really like that kind of first gen value add, A
Mhm.
minus deal stuff that's built in the 2000s.
Yeah. Yeah. I think from a lot of perspective, there's less risk involved, which, is why you have that more stable cap rate. So lots of good reasons on that one. So if you would please, let's talk about, one specific deal that you've done, and, maybe give us a little bit of details on how it shook out.
Well, this one deal was pretty interesting. It's in Waco,
Mhm.
Texas. I've bought and sold it. I don't remember when we bought it exactly. I think it was December of 16.
Mhm.
I think we held it for about 2.5 years, but this was a CMBS assumption,
Mhm.
loan assumption, and Fannie Mae and all that, or Freddie Mac, you loan assumptions. I've done a few of those, and
Mhm.
those aren't too bad. It's kind of a known process. Well, CMBS, it's a little bit of the wild west in
Mhm.
some ways. And so anyways, just it was more difficult process. We were buying the deal, and this was 2016, 17. So we were buying the deal at 33 a door,
Mhm.
and which then and in Waco was a really good deal. And so anyways, but it ended up taking us 9 months to close the deal.
Wow.
So the lender came in, and they brought their engineer in, and they wanted us to do all these repairs. It was far and beyond anything. They wanted us to, they've had the loan for just 2 years, but they wanted us to replace the windows. They wanted us to replace all the water heaters. They wanted us to, replace,
Wow.
X, Y, and Z. And so, I mean, it totaled, about probably 300-400K. And I mean, that was our total budget. We weren't planning on a lot of those
Mhm.
items. And so anyways, there was a lot of back and forth. And so we basically told the seller, we're like, well, the lender's going to make you do all of this regardless. So this isn't
Yeah.
just our problem. This is your problem, because, we could walk.
Yeah.
And so we ended up the reason why it took so long, it was a back and forth of really just trying to get the lender down on the immediate repairs needed.
Mhm.
And so we ended up, I think it started at 350. And so we got it down to, I think we got it down to 150 or 100. And so basically the seller gave us a credit for 100K, and then, we went ahead and closed it and all that. But
Mhm.
yeah, it was a bumpy deal to begin with. And
Mhm.
then we got into the property, and we had to evict a decent number of people. They were, I mean, the management staff had been on cruise control for
Mhm.
9 months. And so they're, oh yeah, come on in,
Yep. Yep.
they were just told to keep it full.
Mhm.
And so anyways, one of the folks that they let in, and we don't have proof or anything, we didn't have cameras, but we were evicting someone. They were calling our manager every name in the book. And then magically the next day, our office was burned down. And so, anyways, it was interesting, but we didn't end up catching him there. We did evict him, and he, I guess he just liked to hang around the complex. And so he had, when tax refund checks were coming,
Mhm.
he broke into the mailboxes and accidentally cut himself, and bled on the mailboxes. And so the cops got him on that. So, which is a federal offense for stealing mail.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Anyways,
people talk about the horror tenants. I don't think I've heard one worse than that. Burning down the leasing office, allegedly burning down the leasing office, and then breaking into the mailbox to steal refund checks. Wow, That's pretty bad. I assume this has like at least a happy ending, once you guys went full cycle on it.
We about doubled our money in
Mhm.
2.5 years. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we
Yeah.
had, we bought it at I think an 8 or 9 cap. We sold it at 6.5 caps. Obviously
Mhm.
there's cap rate compression there, but we also raised rents quite a bit. We did water conservation. They
Mhm.
weren't billing back water, so we started doing that. They had a cable contract. It wasn't a big one, but it was 25,000, and
Yeah.
so I mean, you can divide 25,000 by 6.5 cap, and and
It's a lot of
really,
money.
so yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're actually looking at the same thing right now. We got a little small deal that we're looking at in Augusta, and they've got it's a $10,000 a year cable contract, and literally just got off the phone with somebody saying, "Hey, see if we can cancel that, as soon as we close," because yeah, $10,000 and Augusta is looking at a 5 cap right now, so that's a big swing
oh,
in
yeah,
dollars. So
yeah.
I mean, C class 5 cap, I think 3 years ago, people would have told you you're crazy if you were buying C class at 5 caps, but actually this is B class anyway. Yeah, lot of goodness there. But so shifting gears slightly, just want to jump into your motivation. What's your big burning why for doing this and for being successful in general?
Well, it's shifted. So I mean,
Mhm.
I've left my job and all that. So initially, it was I wanted to I wanted to leave my job and basically have time flexibility. And it wasn't that I was never a person that, because I'm a big believer in, if you don't, unless it's just a toxic situation. But I didn't, I had a good job,
Mhm.
and the people I worked with were great, and a lot of what I worked on was pretty interesting. I mean, I got to go, I was around F-35s, and
Mhm.
got to be around. I mean, they're $100 million planes, and
Yep.
I thought that was cool. Um, so anyways, I had a good job, and got every other Friday off and all that. But I've really just wanted time flexibility. And then for me, I like a carrot out there.
Mhm.
And my job didn't, there just, that wasn't really an opportunity there. So anyways, so initially my why was doing
Yeah.
that, and being able to kind of travel and all that. It's shifted since
Mhm.
then. Yeah, I guess I would say my big why is really just to kind of be a positive influence on. I have my son, who
Mhm.
you guys heard earlier before the
Yep.
recording. He's 10 years old, and then I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and so just being a positive influence and kind of a bright light, so to speak, for them. And then just kind of just the I guess world in general, community in general, just trying to show, kind of keep pushing those limits, and
Mhm.
see what's possible. And I'm a big believer in the way you do, what's the saying, the way you do anything's the way you do everything.
Mhm.
And so, I think a lot of that carries over, just relationships with, friends and family. I'm involved in a nonprofit, can't see it because my background, but it's Cancer Care Services.
Mhm.
And then, and then on the physical fitness side, just, trying to push the limits. And, one thing that we're, wasn't planned or anything, but there's a lot of refugees coming over from Afghanistan right
Yep.
now. And so I'm working with a few of the different organizations to, because I know a lot of apartment owners. And so,
Amazing,
uh,
right?
yeah. So I'm like, oh, hey, this is
Yeah.
cool. I know people who have places to live, and they have some vacancy, and you have
Mhm.
people. So
Yeah.
I'm just matching
Matchmaker.
them, and then I get out of the way. So.
Yep. That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, seems like there's always refugees from somewhere. It doesn't matter what's happening in the world, but being in a position where you can help is very, very admirable. So, or not just being in the position, but actually helping is very admirable. But anyway, that said, what's next for you?
So we're looking to build a portfolio. We closed on a deal earlier this year.
Mhm.
It was a 2012 product, 228 units. And so we're looking to build or looking to buy more of that type of product, more of that kind of early 2000s product, and really build a portfolio between Houston and DFW.
Mhm.
And so wanting to build that up, wanting to do more outreach and in terms of I love that the refugee, I don't love that that they're having to leave their country, but that I'm in a position to help and all that. So I really like that. With cancer care services, we're able to kind of get the word out about how they're able to help people if they do have cancer. Hopefully they don't need the service, but if they do, then cancer care services can help, and it's kind of a win-win-win all around. It helps the tenant,
Mhm.
could help them financially, could help the apartment complex because they continue to get rent payments.
Revenue. Yeah.
And then it's no one wants to see an eviction. So
Mhm.
so anyways, but yeah, just kind of continuing to if there's opportunities that come up and I can help, great. And we do a lot of on the investor side, we do a lot of networking, both online and in person. And we try to do different webinars and all that, just trying to educate people. I didn't know that. I thought you had to be ultra rich to invest in apartments. That's what I always thought.
Yeah.
And so I talk to people every day that they're like, I never knew this was a thing. I didn't know normal people could invest. And so, I think just kind of continuing to, put myself out there, and my business partner put himself out there. And trying to, we are kind of our slogan that Hayden came up with, my business partner. So our slogan is, we want to do good deals with good people. And, it's for us, it's a lot of fun, and we like transforming, these are nicer properties, but we like,
Mhm.
making it better, and, trying to do different things with the tenants, different events and things like that, just
Mhm.
trying to improve quality for everybody.
All right. I like that. Do good deals with good people. We're going to switch gears one more time here, and we're going to introduce our aspiring investor guest today. It's Jason Velie. So Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was excited to get you on the show, and, I know the area you live in fairly well. And like I said, my business partners are just up the street from you. So very, very happy to get to know you today. So that said, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. As he said, my name is Jason Velie, and I born and raised right here around
Mhm.
Wilmington, North Carolina, so real close to the beach.
Yeah.
I graduated from UNCW in December of 2015 with my
Okay.
finance degree, and I did a little bit of the financial advisor type work, getting those
Mhm.
licenses and stuff for a little while. But where I've been the last 5 years is actually in institutional trust funds, specifically in the
Okay.
death care industry. So like pre-need funeral trust funds and cemetery perpetual care trust funds. I currently work as a trust officer for a firm that specializes in that.
Mhm.
I got into real estate investing almost 2 years ago, and I've flipped a handful of houses, and I've owned at different points a couple different rentals, but just recently last month closed on an eightplex, which was really exciting for me.
Mhm.
But now I've been learning a lot more about syndicating in the recent months. So that's been really catching my attention and halfway making me feel like an idiot for putting the down payment or myself for that eightplex instead of raising that money. But
Yeah.
so basically now just looking for the next one. But I also have a wife, and 3 kids, almost 4. The fourth one will be born in January. So lots going on, but definitely looking to get further into the apartment side of things and away from the single family side.
Yeah. Well, Dustin talked about pies earlier. Your eightplex is a smaller pie, but you own 100% of it, so that pie is
Right.
all yours. And it's, I mean, there's different philosophies on which direction's best for investing, but you have 100% of a small pie versus in a syndication where you have, a very small slice of a much larger pie. So, yeah, I think that's a great way to start, being 100% owner of an eightplex is solid. So if I were you, I wouldn't feel bad about that. Just learn from it and keep on pushing. But I think that's absolutely amazing. Eightplex by yourself. Good job on that one. So
Thank you.
yeah. So talked about your family, and I'm sure that's going to pop out with this next question. What's your big burning why?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as any investor would tell you, one of the primary reasons is, or motivators is, financial independence, time freedom, to be with your family more. But for me as well, my sole identity first and foremost is as a believer in Jesus Christ. And that's what my world revolves around. And I believe that money is a tool that can be used, just as, Dustin mentioned, to use things to support refugees. I believe that, part of my success, will be used for funding ministries in the future. And also on the time side of things, by freeing up more of my time, I will be able to physically volunteer in, ministries myself as well.
Nice. Very, very much appreciate that. A lot of goodness going on there. So that said, Jason, we got Dustin on the line. What do you want to ask him?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dustin, thank you for offering to answer some questions for me. Right now I'm at the beginning stages of trying to find larger deals. I'm still way too nervous to go for 100+ unit deals at this point, but I think I've got enough resources and knowledge to at least go quite a bit larger than where I'm at now. So most of my questions right now that I've got revolve around establishing those relationships with brokers, because so far most of my deals I found myself off market, through direct mail. And so getting up with brokers has been a new experience for me, and I've met with a few in my area so far, and I want to try to stick to my area, until I feel like I've tapped out those resources a little bit. But I guess I feel confident that I understand the lingo of the industry enough to build some of that immediate confidence. But one of the big questions I had was, a lot of times when you underwrite deals, you the number that you would need to purchase it at is way lower than what it's listed for. How do you determine, obviously it's a gray area, it's not a fine line, but how do you determine when your offer would have to be too low, where you don't even want to make the offer or submit the LOI, and risk damaging your credibility with that broker? Is it, do you say we're comfortable offering up to 10% of asking or 20% of asking, or how do you navigate that?
Yeah, so I mean, I would just talk to the broker, and so a lot of time, I mean, if you're way below, I would just tell them and just be upfront and be like, hey, look, I'm just letting you know, this is where I'm at. I'm, you don't have to give an exact number and all that. You can just say I'm $500,000 off of ask, or $1 million off of ask, or whatever. So I mean, you could just I would just be upfront and honest with them and just kind of tell them where you're at. If they have plenty of interest, then that's probably about where the conversation will end, or maybe they'll talk about another deal. if they don't have a whole lot of interest, they'll, ask, well, why don't you just go ahead and put something in? Or if they're trying to bump up their offer count or something like that too. But like I said, if they just don't have a whole lot of interest, they may just try to work you up a little bit to, 'cause they may not have a whole lot going on. So
yeah, I think just don't fail to communicate. If you're talking with brokers, always give them feedback. I like what Dustin said. Tell them where you're at. Hey, I know the ask price is X. We're at Y right now. Is it even worth our time and your time putting in an offer? And boom. I think that'll go a long way.
Thank you.
And I've had some brokers, especially, when you're newer to the game, something that, you may want to do is, if you kind of build up rapport with a broker and maybe you are short on some, I've had some brokers offer to walk through underwriting just to kind of see, just make sure, someone's not missing something. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think that's a good tip. They may see something or know something that's not in your underwriting, or vice versa. And sometimes if you show them your underwriting and you show them something, they've got some good reason to go back to the seller and say, hey, it's probably only worth this much because of X or Y or Z.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So cool.
I appreciate that. On the same note of, broker relationships, is when you're just starting and you don't have this track record of successfully syndicating multiple deals, how do you effectively leverage a partner's capital? If say I have, one partner that's, willing to bring up to $1 million to the table and I've got absolutely nothing, how do I mean, you don't lead into the broker letting them know you have nothing up front, but if they know that you're younger, you're not as experienced, how do you leverage that person's capital? Do you try to get some sort of proof of funds if you're close enough with that person to not necessarily to just give it up front, but maybe offer it? Or I guess I'm just, in general, how do you help earn that confidence other than just knowing the lingo? How do you gain that confidence from these brokers?
I mean, there's, two ways that kind of come to mind as far as, so you could ask for that proof of funds from your guy. You could just say, hey, I have a capital partner, and they're naturally going to ask, well, does the partner need to see the property before, moving forward or anything like that? Another thing that you could think about doing is, and this is what I did. So I partnered up with someone that was had a little more experience than I did. And so basically, I was kind of borrowing his resume a little bit in a way. And so that might be, you might be able to find someone in your area. And, I know there's I think there's a North Carolina Facebook group. I can't remember the guy's, a buddy of mine, I think, runs it. And so anyways, but you might be able to go in there and just start networking with people. And, I think just trying to, I don't know exactly what and you may not know what your structure, what you want to look like, but I'm a big believer in just, I think this is a team sport. And, I think you need to have, especially as you kind of go up in deal size, it takes a lot of people to close these big deals. And, so don't be afraid to, tap on other people's shoulders and see if you could potentially partner up.
Yeah, I agree. And, when one thing that really helped me is moving from the word I to the word we, so Dustin mentioned borrowing, the credibility, or borrowing the track record of a partner. You can talk about we. If you have a capital partner that's committed to helping you, you can use the word we. We have $1 million in equity right now that we're willing to place. And if you approach the broker with that information, that's going to go a long way. We have this, we are looking for this type of product. We have $1 million or $800,000 or $500,000 in equity right now, and we could potentially raise more. I think what the brokers are really looking for, when you sum everything up, they want somebody who can bring the full purchase price inside the contract period. That is what they're looking for. And if you can come to them and say, I've already got this much money, we have this much money and can raise that much more. The only thing you're lacking is experience, and Dustin covered that as well. Start networking with people and, find somebody with experience that's willing to go in with you.
Yeah. One thing I was going to mention too, there's a book that, it's by Dan Sullivan. It's called Who Not How. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just, kind of, looking to, it's just a matter of, hey, let's team up. And then that's how you get it done, as opposed to, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard a lot about that book. I'll have to add it to the list.
What's your next question?
If I were to come across a, larger deal that underwrote well, presenting it to guys like you, do you partner with people like me that have less experience? Would you be interested in something like that?
I'll take it first.
Mm-hmm.
We're the way we're set up, we're pretty much doing just kind of concentrating on our own deals. However, I been in this a little while, and while I don't know as many people on the East Coast as I'd like to, I could probably introduce you to some people that may have an interest.
Yeah, and the answer for us is yes. We are actually doing the same thing for a similar group on a small property in Augusta right now. So they found the property. We're coming in as experienced and basically loan guarantors for that particular property. So the answer is yes. And our simple criteria, sounds simple when you say it, but it's really complicated. We got to like the deal. We got to like the people. So, if we can find people who meet those two criteria, they have a deal in hand and we like the deal, we like them, we would be happy to talk about potentially partnering. So,
sure.
And one thing I would just kind of mention too, along the lines of, partnering up and all that, there's, I know I don't know exactly what unit count you're looking for and all that, but, with the right partners and all that, if I were you, I wouldn't be afraid to, go start looking at that 100 unit count or so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of people who have different criteria for coming in and different criteria for helping. If you have a deal that meets our criteria for syndication and, we really like the deal, we will come in and do just about everything we need to get that closed, if that makes sense. So really, I think, back to, what Dustin was saying, meet as many people as possible. You'll find different people with different types of criteria. You'll start gravitating towards some, and eventually you'll have the right people around you to make magic happen. Who, not how. I'm going to read that book too. Who, not how. But there we go. Well, we're about out of time, so I'm going to ask one last question to each of you. And Dustin, you can go first. How can listeners learn more about you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, just Dustin Miles. I'm on Instagram, I think Dustin.Miles. Our website address is just momentummultifamily.com, and my email is just dustin@momentummultifamily.com.
All right, super easy, and we'll put that information in the show notes. Jason, same question for you.
Yeah, I do have a small website that I use for my house flipping business called capefearcashoffer.com, but there's not a whole lot of info on there. But to connect with me personally, you can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Bigger Pockets. I've got a profile on there that shows some of the deal history of what I've done. But my email address is velieinvestments@gmail.com. Velie is spelled VELIE. But happy to help in any way I can. Feel free to reach out anytime.
All right. And once again, we'll put that information in the show notes. So if anybody wants to reach out to Dustin or Jason, please do. And, super simple, tap, swipe, and tap, and you'll get whisked away to their contact info. So that said, Dustin, Jason, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Very much appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Brian.
it.
Thanks, Dustin.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you, Jason. See you.
Likewise. See ya.